From EuroLeague champion to NBA longshot, Hugo Gonzalez's wild leap into Boston's crucible in less than 24 hours. Hugo Gonzalez went from standing atop Europe as a EuroLeague champion with Real Madrid to becoming a question mark in Boston's long-term plans. A 19-year-old drafted in the first round, tossed into the NBA machine just hours after tasting continental glory, is now riding Ubers through Las Vegas, gearing up to prove he belongs not in Europe's elite, but in the NBA's trenches. There's something borderline surreal about Gonzalez's story. Drafted immediately after a championship run, he had no time to breathe, let alone celebrate. No parades, no reflection, no decompression. Just a plane ticket, a different ball, and a deeper three-point line. And now, he's just another face in a gym, trying to survive the summer league grinds, rounded by undrafted free agents and G League hopefuls clawing for a contract. And here's the kicker. Gonzalez isn't just adjusting to the NBA spacing, or Pacey's adjusting to irrelevance. In Madrid, he was part of a storied institution. Here, he's a project, a gamble, a raw wing in a franchise obsessed with floor spacing, rim protection, and rapid-fire offense. He's gone from playing for trophies to fighting for minutes on a team that might not even need him. Sure, the physical tools are tantalizing 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, EuroLeague defense pedigree, but Boston is no place for a long runway. This is a title-hunting team. Joe Mazzulla's system is built around decision-making speed and elite shooting. Gonzalez, for all his potential, shot just 30% from deep last season. In Europe, against sagging defenses and tighter courts, now he's being asked to space the floor with a three-point line that's nearly 7 centimeters further away, and to hit those shots at NBA pace, with NBA defenders closing out. Yet, there's grit, there's self-awareness. "I'm 19, so I can't complain too much," he says, jet-lagged, breathless, and still focused. He knows the road is uphill. He knows that spacing, tempo, and physicality are different planets here. And still, he's diving into the fire. He's already working with player development staff like Craig Luchesnet, absorbing every drill. Guys like Baylor Shearman and Jordan Walsh, veterans of this chaotic, in-between world, have taken him under their wing. The franchise has started pushing him toward a 3-and-D identity, but that's easier said than done. In Europe, he thrived, off the ball, as a cutter, defender, and connector. But Boston demands more than hustle and heart. They demand efficiency. There's a reason he dropped out of the lottery. There's a reason fans barely noticed when his name was called. He's got a chip on his shoulder the size of Madrid. And in Vegas, under the blinding gym lights, he's got a chance to force people to pay attention. Because for Hugo Gonzalez, the real championship run might not have been with Real Madrid. It might be surviving Summer League. The Boston Celtics offseason didn't just start on the wrong foot. It feels like they jumped off a cliff blindfolded. What began as a careful dance with the new second tax apron has quickly spiraled into what might become a roster mismanagement disaster. Not only did they lose Jrue Holiday, the defensive engine and emotional core of their championship run, but they were also forced to unload Kristaps Porzingis, a key piece they sacrificed depth to acquire just a year ago. And the bleeding isn't over. Al Horford, a foundational veteran and locker room leader, is now likely the next domino to fall. Brad Stevens' front office tried to make the best of a brutal situation, flipping Jrue Holiday to Portland, but that trade, which initially felt like a calculated financial reset, has already morphed into something far more erratic. The return, Anfernee Simons, a microwave scorer with a questionable defensive resume, who now seems to be nothing more than a pawn in a frantic cap space game. And here's where it gets even messier. According to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, Boston is already trying to flip Simons again before he's even put on a jersey. They're actively trying to trade Anfernee Simons. Windhorst revealed on the Hoops Collective whether they succeed is another question. This signals panic, not strategy. Simons averaged nearly 20 points and 5 assists last season, and his offensive toolkit is undeniably valuable. He's a legitimate three-level scorer who could provide an offensive bridge while Jason Tatum rehabs. But if the Celtics truly believed in his fit, they wouldn't be working the phones trying to move him within days of acquiring him. So what's the real issue? It all comes down to the brutal financial stranglehold imposed by the new CBA. Simons is in the final year of a $27.7 million deal, and Boston is already $20 million over the luxury tax line. That second apron doesn't just limit flexibility, it punishes ambition. And now the front office seems more focused on shedding contracts than building a team capable of defending its title. This is not roster retooling. This is triage. The Celtics, a team that just hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy, are now making desperation moves that scream instability. And if this turns into a fire sale, don't be surprised if more big names start surfacing in trade talks. Because right now, it doesn't look like Boston is planning for Banner 19. It looks like they're just trying to keep the lights on. The Boston Celtics just won an NBA title. And yet, within weeks, the entire foundation of that championship roster has started to unravel. Before Jason Tatum collapsed with a torn Achilles in the closing minutes of a gut-wrenching loss to the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals, Brad Stevens already knew the party was over. Not because the Celtics weren't good enough, but because the NBA's new financial rules made it nearly impossible to keep a team this expensive together. The reality hit harder than Tatum's injury. Keeping Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and the rest of this title-winning group would have forced Boston into a historic financial pit. Over $500 million in payroll and luxury tax penalties, and thanks to the new second apron provisions, it's not just about spending money anymore, it's about losing your flexibility entirely. No sign-in trades, no mid-level exceptions, no future draft pick trades, no breathing room. So instead of running it back, Stevens had to detonate the very roster he built. He didn't just tweak it, he torched it. Jrue Holiday, the defensive soul of Boston's title run, is gone. Kristaps Porzingis, whose size and versatility were key in the finals, was moved as well. Not because they underperformed, not because they didn't fit, but because the league's new punitive rules gave Boston a brutal ultimatum: either sacrifice core pieces or forfeit all tools to build a future. This was always coming, Stevens admitted Tuesday after the trades became official. Second apron is real, and if you ignore it, you cripple your franchise for years. What makes this even darker is the uncertainty surrounding Tatum. A torn Achilles isn't just a setback. It's the kind of injury that ends careers or, at best, reshapes them. If he's out for the entire 2024-25 season, which remains a very real possibility, Boston is left with Jaylen Brown, a group of role players, and a front office walking a financial tightrope with no safety net. And yet, despite the bleeding, Stevens insists this is not a rebuild. That word won't be part of our vocabulary, he said firmly. We're going to compete like hell, period. Still, one can't help but question, compete for what? With Tatum in a walking boot and the roster gutted for tax relief, Boston's path forward feels like a gamble wrapped in spin. Even Brown, who underwent his own knee procedure last month, isn't guaranteed to shoulder the full load without wearing down. Stevens says he's ready, but is Boston ready for what that version of the team looks like? The only acquisition that truly matters now is getting Tatum back, fully healthy, fully explosive, fully dominant. That's what Stevens called the most important addition they can make in the coming years. Until then, the Celtics aren't just navigating a tough offseason, they're fighting to prevent a championship high from turning into a multi-year hangover, one brought on not by bad decisions, but by the cold, brutal math of the NBA's new reality.